Hi, Rupert. I would like to ask a question about the transmission between teacher and student. First of all, if you could speak about it generally, about the concept.
I can't speak about it either generally or specifically, because I don't know anything about teachers and students.
Okay. Us coming here.
I don't consider myself to be a teacher, and I don't consider any of you to be students. So you have to ask a proper teacher.
Okay.
a real guru.
But can I ask about the transmission? I mean,
between what and what?
Like you, from telling your story, went to your teacher and you said that it didn't matter what he said, and just being in his presence helped you deepen your understandings. This is like one question. If he would have spoke Chinese, would have this been the same? Because you said it didn't matter what he said. I heard this in one of the recordings. The second question is about being here physically or listening to YouTube videos or recordings. Is it any difference?
Well, you tell me. I've never watched any of my YouTube recordings. So you're in a far better position than I am to tell me the difference between watching a YouTube clip at home and being here together. And what is the difference? I mean, why didn't you stay at home and just watch YouTube clips? You must know, or at least intuit, the difference. Now, I would like to know. Tell me.
Yeah, I'm questioning myself because every time I go on a retreat, Francis, this is my first long retreat with you. I've been on two of Francis, and every time I go, there's an amazing deepening of the understandings. But also at home, when I practice the meditations, I come here because I feel it's working to meet people, to have fun. It's a nice vacation. It's like a big, perfect package for me, you know. But still, I'm asking myself the question, if there's no space and no time, so what does it matter? For the practical work, not for the fun and the people, which is amazing. But
well, don't relegate the fun and the people.
I'm not.
You know that the friendship that we share on these retreats is itself a visceral communication of the teaching. It is why I was here when Naya was giving her the announcements about why here we have as few restrictions as possible, because we love friendship, we love freedom, and it's a mature group of people that come here, so we trust everyone not to abuse the fact that wine is allowed and computers and iPhones or whatever. There's no restrictions, or a minimum amount of restrictions and guidelines, because we have this love of freedom and this love of friendship. And it's why we're all meeting here in this fabulous place and not in a corporate hotel outside London somewhere. It's because we love beauty. And these are not just truth, but love or friendship and beauty and freedom. These are communications, powerful, visceral communications of the understanding. The understanding is not just a series of ideas and concepts, although it can be conceptualized. So that's why, and that, to answer your question about YouTube, YouTube only gives just a narrow cross-section of what takes place on these retreats. What takes place on these retreats is so much more than even our meditation and conversations. That's an important part of the retreat, but it's only a part of it. The person who's one of the people that's been helping to design my new website over the last year or so, she came to a retreat 18 or so months ago, and she said, Rupert, I had no idea what took place on your retreats. There is such a mismatch between your current website and what takes place. Your website is beautiful and elegant and minimal and all black and white and all. She said it's absolutely beautiful, but it gives and it's efficient and all the information is there. It's all those things, but it's such it gives you such a monodimensional taste of what actually takes place on a retreat. It makes you feel like an aloof, a distant intellectual. Well, I am a little intellectual, but I also love love, and I also love beauty, and I hope that love and beauty are equally available on these retreats, as is truth. So, you see, as human beings, we don't just think. We think, we feel, and we perceive. These are the three functions of a human being, and it is possible to approach reality through any of these pathways, through thinking, that's the path of jnana yoga, through feeling, that's the path of love or devotion, and through perception, that's the way of the artist. And if we approach truth, if we approach reality through thinking, the name we give to reality is understanding. But if we approach the same reality through feeling, through the heart, the name we give to that reality is love. And if we approach the same reality through perception, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, the name we give to that reality is beauty. So understanding or truth, love, and beauty, they are three names for the same reality. The reason we have three different names for them is because we have three different ways of approaching them, through thinking, through feeling, and through perceiving. And most paths have at least a preference for one or other of these three ways. And two of the ways, the path of thinking, jnana yoga, and the path of feeling, bhakti yoga, are well documented in the traditions. Most traditions are more or less emphasize more or less the Vedantic tradition tends to emphasize the path of thinking. The Sufi and mystical Christian traditions tend to emphasize the path of feeling. The Tantric tradition, the way of the artist, the way of beauty tends to emphasize the way of perception, although that pathway does not get as much, is not so well known as the other two paths. But in this approach, we try to be at least reasonably evenly spread across the three approaches. We use thought in a very clinical, rigorous way, but we also give a lot of time to friendship. It's why we're not all sitting on our cushions at 6 o'clock in the morning, meditating all the way through till 10 o'clock at night, not talking with each other, not making eye contact with each other, not chatting with our friends on our phones. And it's why there's lots of space that is given to friendship, to having meals together, having a glass of wine together, going for a walk together. And it's why we meet in a place like this, where the experience of beauty is so readily available. That is the value, I hope, of coming to a gathering like this. There's another aspect of it, is that when a number of people are gathered together, all with the same intention, the intention of knowing the reality of experience, somehow that reality just becomes magnified just by the fact of our coming together. That would be the closest that I could say about this so-called transmission. It's not a transmission. The whole idea of transmission belongs to the progressive paths, where there's numerous separate individuals here, and something is passed from one individual to another. We are all the self in each of us is the same self. When each of us refers to the experience I am, before that experience is qualified before the I am is qualified by experience, we all refer to the same being. The same being shines in each of our minds as the knowledge I am. So when we come together here to explore the nature of ourselves, this being it's magnified. It emerges out of the background of experience and begins to shine in our experience, and then that experience is shared. That's what love is, the sharing of our being, the recognition of our shared being. So it's not really a transmission, that's a misnomer, a misunderstanding. It's a magnifying of the being that we share. And for some reason, a reason that I can't describe, for some reason when we all gather together like this, not our being, but being, the only being there is, being doesn't belong to anyone. Being, it shines in our experience, and this collective shining of being is the experience of love.